Welcome to a special episode of This Week in Events, recorded at the First Sight Media podcast studio at Event Tech Live. This week team, who have only never been in front of each other ever before, is Paul Richardson of Vivid Ink PR.
Good morning.
Paul Cook of Planet,
yes. Morning.
and Jill Hawkins of Aniseed PR.
Good morning.
And how are you doing on this fine morning?
Looks like it's a busy show.
Yeah, it's getting busier.
Cute.
We-
Cute to the mic.
It started off this morning, it was quite quiet, but it's really ramping up now, and there's a real buzz in the hall. Lots of people coming in through registration. So, yeah, it looks like it's going to be a good one.
Well, you're exhibiting here, Paul, aren't you?
Yeah, we're on stand B1. And as I say, it was quieter this morning, but now it's really picked up. There's a real thrum, and if you can hear in the background, there's a lot of people in the room, a lot of noise, a lot of positive conversations going off. It's really good.
Excellent. You've got your pants then, Paul?
Yes, we brought our pants. They're on display on stand B1, if anybody like them. We even have edible pants on the stand.
Oh, isn't that a bit 60s?
Are you trying to say something about Paul's age? Are you having a go? That's not good.
I wouldn't dream of it. I think we're all above 50 in this room, aren't we?
Yes.
I'm looking at everyone.
Yeah. They're not going to admit it, but they all are, so yeah.
No comment at this stage.
Okay.
So there we go. So, so we've got some stories to discuss, and we're going to let you go first, Mr. Paul Cook.
Are you really? That's so lovely, isn't it?
Yep.
So, I found a little story. MPI, I love what they do. Meeting Professionals International. They are a membership association, and over a number of years, they've been encouraging planners and suppliers and faculty and students to come along and to join and basically get involved in event planning and to help them. So they've been doing things like they've been putting out educational resources, they've been holding events, they have a World Congress, they have a European Congress, and they've done a lot for the industry over the last 50 odd years. What struck me was that I received this email, and it basically said, we are opening MPI Consulting. And I took a moment and thought, okay, what's that actually mean? So I took a look at their website, and it seems that they're offering consulting services for people that want to put on events. And it just struck me that I wasn't quite sure if that meant that they were offering additional services to their membership base already, or whether they were potentially almost in competition to a degree with them. So it still needs to be explored, but it just caught my eye that is that maybe, associations, they do need to focus on what's bringing in the money, where they're going, what they're doing in forthcoming years. But, there's some great brains there. I'm sure there's a real big reason behind this. But at face value at the moment, it feels to me like they've just put themselves in a bit of a situation where they could be competing with their members.
It sounds like they would be, doesn't it? The fact that their members are event professionals that would give those... they're not just the operational side of things, are they? They do actually look at the strategy, the consultancy behind an event.
Yeah.
So I wonder what their members think. It'd be interesting to find out, wouldn't it?
Well, that's right. I think, they're going to be at a trade show next week in Barcelona, and they have a stand there, so I'm sure, I'll go and ask people and see what they think, because hopefully it is a very strategic move and it helps move that association forward, because they have been doing good things for a number of years. But if they've kind of miscalculated, that could be quite challenging for them, I think.
I think it puts them into that dichotomous position where they have to generate revenue and be seen to be bringing new services on. But how close to their membership's offering do they get? And we've worked with a number of associations over the years in the events industry, and it's a very fine line that they tread. And things like everybody has a set of awards now, and if you have people in your membership who deliver awards, are you starting to compete And I think it really indicates there needs to be probably a little bit more strategic thinking going on to say, what is our purpose? What is why do we exist? What is the purpose? And it's not perhaps to generate peripheral revenue, it's actually to deliver for our members. And it may be that it's a membership-driven initiative. You never know. They might have actually done the right thing and asked the members first and then delivered it. So it's worth a question, though, definitely.
Yeah.
Is it a case that they're actually offering their service outside of the membership, or do you think that they're involving the membership to support the membership?
I think it was a general email that came through. So I think it's offering to both, to people inside and outside. But to Paul's point, I think all associations need to be thinking about where their value is today, because a lot of the associations, not just MPI, were set up some 50 odd years ago. And they were at a time before social media, before the internet. And they used to be a kind of real gateway. You joined an association, you got knowledge about the industry that you were in, and you could connect with other people. And we know that has now been challenged in so many ways, where you've got free networking, where you've got content coming out of lots of places. So I think associations are always under this kind of need to keep evolving. So it's got to be done in a very strategic way, like you say. And I'm sure there are things that the events industry is missing right now that these guys could help with.
I was just about to say that I wonder if the consultancy that they're offering could actually be from a business perspective. So they're offering help growing your business, insider knowledge, that sort of thing, rather than consultancy that might compete with their members' core services.
Yeah.
Be interesting to find out more.
I will report. That's my mission next week. I will go away and I'll report back on it.
So,
I got a soft spot in my heart for MPI. I've been involved with them for a number of years. So this one kind of shook me a little bit, I think, which is why I wanted to discuss it with you guys now,
Yeah, be interesting to get them on to have a chat about it.
Definitely. What would be interesting is if they're going to bring in some of the membership for like apprenticeships or training, that sort of thing, really involving the membership to make the thing happen and make make use of all the expertise that they've accrued. Was it over 50 years, you said?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
So that's a lot of experience and knowledge that's been built up.
Yeah, I in the UK alone, it's at least 25, 27 years, something like that. And I know that because back in 2005, I think, I was president, and I was the 13th president. So if we do the maths, it's another 10 years on, I guess. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Showing your age
Showing your age.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we had the plus 50 question earlier, didn't we? So, yeah.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else on that, we can move straight on to you, Jill, with your thoughts on the MIAlist.
Absolutely. Another association. So last Thursday, it was the MIA, Meetings Industry Association Conference and Awards. And the awards I only went to the awards rather than the conference, and the awards were absolutely amazing. They really stepped it up this year. It felt really glamorous. It felt really well put together. It was just a really slick operation. Congratulations to everybody that was actually involved with the organisation of that. My query is that as part of their awards, they do their MIAlist, which is a list of 10 people that have gone above and beyond for the industry and their own companies. Now, you have to put people forward, it's judged, and then it's shortlisted to 20 people, and then they narrow it down to 10 that get on the list. This year, all 10 were women, and they were all white. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Do we need, have we seen things go back the other way, that perhaps in 10 years ago it would have been all men? I just wanted to have a chat about that and discuss, is it a good thing or not?
How was the list last year?
All female as well.
Interesting.
Can I just ask, does the list represent a particular operational element within the industry? So we all know from surveys done and from research done, the the kind of imbalance in the gender mix at operational level to senior executive level.
Absolutely.
But do the categories that people enter, is it taking them from that, shall we say, the operational level, so there will be an inherent bias in the mix?
Possibly, but there were men in the final 20, so men are being put forward, and there were, I think, everyone from Sammy Connell from NASUT, the National Union of Teachers, right the way through to Lisa, who is head of commercial for the Venues Collection. You know, there was a real range of people and a real range of jobs from venues, from agencies and from associations. So, and I know they will probably say that the judges judge not based on gender or colour, but should they actually try and be representative of the industry, which is 70-30?
Yeah, I suppose your question is there some positive bias being introduced?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to know if it's judged on blind submissions. We were just involved in doing some work with EVCOM for their awards, and in their awards you're not allowed to mention the brand that's being that you're entering for. So we wrote one award, and I'm pleased to say it was shortlisted, but on the entry the award would not have been allowed to enter if we'd mentioned the client company in the award entry, because they wanted the judges to look at it as a blind entry, so they're comparing like for like without any kind of inherent bias in terms of who they may have heard of or who they'd heard done good work. Which I thought was quite an interesting aspect. It'd be interesting to know if the MIA awards were equally as anonymised.
I don't think so. Well, certainly in the awards that I wrote, I wrote quite a few for clients. I always use the person's name within it, and obviously quotes that you get from their colleagues and from clients include their name as well. So unless they have a name that doesn't indicate whether they're male or female, like Jamie or something like that, you would know whether they're male or female.
And I think it also depends if the names that you're putting forward are checked out by the judges, whether they look at their other social media profiles or whatever. I don't think on the MIA list you can actually anonymise it in quite the same way as for some other awards. Interesting question though, but I always believe that if you are, if you are worthy of the recognition, then it doesn't, to my mind, it doesn't matter what kind of banding or how it looks. If you are the right person, then you deserve the award.
It's interesting, isn't it, that I'm a total feminist. I really am. You cut my arm off, it would run through me like a stick of rock. It really would. But I did have to question: have we gone too far the other way?
So we're wondering whether there's been a little bit. Let's try and put it a little bit more out there. Is it a case of a lot of positive vetting or positive bias, they call it?
I'm not sure, or whether they're just not conscious of it.
Yeah.
I think that might be the thing, that they're just looking at, and they're, as Paul said, they are looking at it, I believe, in a very fair and even playing field. But should they be doing that, or do we actually need them to say, actually, we need more men and to attract?
No, I mean, I'd argue that no, they shouldn't. If we're actually going to go for proper gender equality, it is who is the best person to be put forward for it, who is the best person to be shortlisted and win. So gender shouldn't come into it at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whether, let's take it a step further back down the chain, when organisations are looking to put people forward, is there any bias in that, or are they just looking and saying, well, are they saying, we need to be seen to be putting forward more female entries into this? I mean, it's a very moot point, but it's one that probably needs to be fleshed out a bit. Where does that inherent bias lie? And if it doesn't, then obviously it's a reflection of the people in the potential candidate list that are worthy of the award. So it might be that it's balancing out perfectly. These are the best people, and it just so happens that at this point it happens to be an all-women shortlist.
It might be, mightn't it? Or it could be that were more women put forward because people consciously or even sort of subconsciously looked at the list last year and saw all women, so actually thought, we need to put women forward. They're the people that win. I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting observation.
We could do it a bit more transparency then, just to say, okay, so yet again, it's an all-women list, but is that representative of those who were put forward? Or is it a representation of the amount of women, like the 70-30 split you were saying? So is it a representative of that? And my only other question is, do we need to know that?
Yeah, it was just interesting. I found it very interesting that it was all women.
It's interesting, but when it comes to sort of we need to know that this is done in a natural way, in a proper way, how much do we need to know? It'd be nice to say with the transparency we can say, yes, this is a great list. It represents perfectly. But how much deeper do we need to go into that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
But it is that thing of you can't be what you can't see. I remember when Faye Sharp, quite a while ago, looked at the Fast Forward 15 mentees that she had, and none of them were women of colour. And at the time she thought, well, no one's being put forward. I'm only picking from the people being put forward. So how can we choose people if they're not being put forward? But she did some amazing outreach to ambassadors of colour that could then share the call for mentees with their followers and their communities to actually bring more black and people of colour, women of colour, into the list. So she was positively trying to mould that.
But in a good way.
Absolutely.
So you're bypassing the whole, here's a token person of colour, of a different cultural background, and you just go, right, let's get the genuine people involved.
Absolutely.
And making it attractive to them.
Yeah.
Well, I think, Bob, what this does is we had an episode where we talked about awards the last time.
We did indeed, yeah.
And maybe these kind of issues that crop up enables all award people to have a look at what they're asking. What are they asking for people to come through? And when was the last time that they actually reviewed some of their criteria?
Yeah.
So maybe, both these episodes can go in some way towards that. And maybe MIA could come on and talk about what's going on.
That would be good if anybody from MIA wants to come and talk. All ears, no problem at all. Just going back to the split of the genders. In your experience, Paul, as with MPI, have you any ideas what the gender split was with the association is?
It's always been around 70-30.
Okay.
In the event space, that is. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting as well, because then you get into that issue of, okay, a senior female, where are they in terms of some of those positions? And it was a lower stat, or it always used to be. And Robert Kenwood did some work on this in his employment surveys, and these kind of things do crop up. So whilst you've got a vast amount of people that are, a big percentage, they're not always getting those kind of top rungs as well. So
absolutely. I mean, that survey, I wrote the white paper for it, and when you looked at junior positions, i.e. somebody that had executive or manager in their title, they were more likely to be women. As soon as it went up to director or C-suite, they became men. It was sort of, the shift was huge. The shift was so noticeable.
I kind of see it in the stats for this podcast, for the EPN Journal podcast, is after a certain age, it becomes majority of men. And there's like a middle part, like 20 to 30, it seems to be an awful lot more women listening. And I think that kind of starts to represent how this gender split is going on.
Yeah. And I think that's why Faye Sharp launched the Fast Forward 15, because she could see there were a lot of women in the industry that didn't feel empowered, I guess, or trained enough or had the confidence to actually take that next step. And I think what she's doing is amazing to try and get people not into the industry, not get women into the industry. We're fine on that, but get women up to those higher level of jobs.
It's not so much of promoting women, but actually giving them an opportunity for them to grab hold of.
Yeah.
It's all very well saying, these are the best women, or these are the best candidates, or these are or the MIAlist. But if there's nothing for them at the end of it, then you've got to question what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think things are changing. I'd love to see the salary survey come back in about... We said we'd do it every 5 years because it's a lot of work. And I'd love to see it come back in about 3 or 4 years' time to see if that is actually being addressed.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, there's only one other topic we're going to talk about. It's quite relevant because it's about navigating trade shows. We are at a trade show. We're going to be very nice to the people around us. Otherwise, we'll never do this again. Paul, your thoughts on navigating around trade shows? And you have a particular point of view on this.
Yeah, just for total disclosure, I'm profoundly colourblind. So
That's why you're wearing that shirt.
Yes.
Ooh.
I was told to wear this shirt by my wife. I will pass on that, Jill, and then Jane can give you a ring later.
Jane's got good taste. That's all I'm saying.
We make light of it, but it becomes a serious issue. 12% of the UK population have some kind of colour vision deficiency. And we're sitting here, and all due credit to Event Tech Live, they've made the difference between exhibitor badges and visitor badges as plain as possible. So, as an exhibitor, I'm sitting here wearing a blue badge. That's a red badge, right? Sorry, you got that wrong. So I've got a red badge. I'm told it's red. My team on the stand said it was red, and
red.
The exhibitors are walking around with blue badges. Now, Jill's holding up a press pass, which is another colour, and I'm going to guess at green.
It's orange.
Oh, it's orange. Well, there you go, folks. There's a classic example of me being absolutely rubbish at colour differentiation. But when you think it's 12% of the population, that's how many people in this room at the moment. If there are 100 people in here, that's 12. If there are 1,000 people in here, that's 120 people in here who can't tell the difference between those badges. We then go down to colour coding, and ETL's a show that doesn't run with aisle carpets. But there are some shows that use carpet colour to differentiate what part of the show you're in and where you're going. Different coloured signs, different coloured badges, different coloured header boards, a whole raft of things. Even maps, when you go back to the good old print out the map of the show floor, part of it is in one colour because that's a part of a show, and then another part is a different colour. And there's a natural assumption that people can just use it and won't notice. And it really is a problem. And they're not wanting to throw a rock at any other group that may have some challenges. But if you look at the percentage people that sit in a neurodivergent category, it's far less than those people that have got CVD. And the catering that is now being done for them is correct, and it's right. But we're completely blindsided on this one particular issue, which is the ability of people to differentiate colour and then using it in signage, displays and route finding round shows. It's a real challenge.
Yeah.
Do you struggle when it's a coloured letter on a coloured background, so that differentiation? Because obviously most of the signage around here is a dark background with white lettering.
It's contrast. Well, there's two things.
Okay.
One is contrast. So if you've got a very dark background and a very bright white lettering come out of it, that's no problem. Reverse is the same. It's a white sign with dark lettering. Occasionally, if you put two colours that the only way I can describe it is they fluoresce against one another, and that makes it impossible to read. So it might be orange on green or red on green. The border between the two colours blurs and pops. And I can't think of a better way to describe it to you. And that makes it it's impossible to read because it just blurs the sign out. And the difficulty people have varies in intensity, and it varies in terms of how the rods and cones are not developed in your eye, because I have some elements of deuteranopia and tritanopia in my... protanopia and deuteranopia. I'm not tritanopic, that's grayscale. But it'll affect different people in different ways. It's hereditary. It's passed from father to daughter to son, so it has a particular linear path. So my maternal grandfather, was colourblind, which I didn't know. And courtesy of him, thanks Grandpa, I am. And that, I've got two boys, so it stops with me. But if I had daughters, their sons would have a high degree of likelihood that they would be colourblind. So it's genetic, and it will pass. It will carry on.
Wow. I didn't know that.
But it's not addressed. It was addressed once in a court case for unfair dismissal, and this person's defence was that they got CVD, and a judge ruled that colour deficiency was no more of an issue and no more of a disability than wearing spectacles. And that's the line that was legally drawn under it. And that's almost like saying hearing impairment is no more of a disability than just having to say pardon when somebody says something.
Wow.
It's completely wrong. It's been challenged a number of times, but for some reason, politicians, celebrities, as soon as you mention it, run for cover. I don't know whether they see it as that they're admitting a weakness or a problem, but there are some very famous people who are colourblind, film stars, musicians, actors, politicians, but none of them want to touch it. It seems to be too hot a potato. But it affects commercial operations such as this show, where they want to use colour for signing.
Absolutely. We're in such a visual environment, aren't we? You know, from carpets, as you say. So what could be done, and what would you like to see being done within the industry? We were talking the other day, weren't we, about having symbols on badges. Would that work?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, the way badges are printed is obviously the badges we've got for this show, and the one that Jill is holding up, shows that there's a small strip about 10 mil high by about 10 centimetres in length with the reversed out name of what you do in block capitals. Because it's all a strip and it all looks exactly the same, it's hard to differentiate. So if exhibitors had a square, if press had a circle, if visitors had a triangle, that's immediately an immediate recognition. So some car parking meters have this way you pay. It'll be a cross, a circle, and a triangle. So when it says press the yellow button, and it's next to the yellow button, it's got a triangle. People like me can go, right, okay, that's a triangle, that's that one, I can get it. It's not hard, it's a small accommodation, but the impact would be great. It would be super.
So we need more awareness of this then in the events industry.
Yeah.
So when does the campaign start then, Mr. PR?
I think it's already started, isn't it?
Yep, this is day one. We are at ground zero.
Will this campaign involve yet another item of underwear?
Hopefully.
It could well do. But it needs, as I say, it kind of seems to be trivialised because people find it hilarious. And, you know, I mean, not wanting to pick on Jill, but her comment about the colour of the shirt that I'm wearing. But that's how people pass it off. You say, oh, I'm this. Oh, ha, ha, that's so-and-so. And it's not demeaned, but it's parked to one side. It's not. People don't look at it and go, hang on, that's a serious issue. Somebody raised the comment about, well, what about traffic lights? I think it was you, Paul, that raised it. So we were talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, traffic lights are no problem because it's top, middle and bottom.
Yeah.
If the bottom one's illuminated, happy days. If the top one's illuminated, you better stop.
Well, I honestly didn't know. So when you said, you know, about being colourblind, for me that's kind of like, okay, so what does that mean in practical terms? And I think that, you know, what we're highlighting here is issues around trade shows and how you find your way around them. But how many speaker slides do we see in our lifetimes where the speakers put tiny little writing, and you can't see differences in some of the colours. But I also think as well, just on the badges, for me, trade show badges are just not good because they always land so that you have to look at somebody's kind of navel if you want to read it, and then if you are peering to try and see who they are, it looks just a bit weird. So I think maybe we need badges that we could use that would be easier. And I don't follow my nose when it comes to coloured carpet around a show floor. I just don't. I'm not looking on the floor.
There's another aspect that we should also consider. There's the colour design for event apps.
Absolutely. And actually navigating the floor on the app. I was going to say about the lettering on here being quite small.
Yeah.
And you can't, and as Paul said, you end up sort of peering at somebody, especially me without my glasses on.
I've often wondered why the name of the company and the person who's attending is always so much smaller than the participating logo.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
That's where the money is.
Yeah. But just to go back a little bit, when it comes to, when we talk about accessibility and it comes to visual impairment, it's always about how much do you actually see of everything around you, but not mentioning how you see what's around you, as in colourblindness. Do you feel that there's more to be said? It needs to be widened out?
Yeah. I think it's a very, very poorly understood issue. I don't think people realise its extent. I just think it's one of those elements of people's lives that's been swept under the carpet and generally dismissed. I mean, I go back, my challenges with colour vision are legion as I go back into my youth, but I was thrown out of art class for painting the sky purple. And my extremely clever, witty mate, who I was sat next to on the table, switched the blue for the purple in my paint palette while I was going and getting another brush.
Oh, nice.
So I came back and he thought that was absolutely hysterically funny, and obviously the art teacher thought I was taking the mickey and said, on you go. So that was GCSE art out of the window.
You got expelled for that?
No, I got thrown out of that particular class. I was told I couldn't take it further. But as a serious
That's
proposition,
still outrageous.
I was very much into photography.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the 1970s in comprehensive schools in South
precisely.
Yorkshire. We weren't a particularly enlightened society.
You had schools at that time.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew that was coming. Yeah.
And on the
I'll skip your coat.
It's a good job this show's in London, not in Bradford or Leeds, because you'd never get out alive. But going back onto that is that compounds itself, because I was a very keen photographer up to being 15, 16. I did O-level photography, got an A, was told, you've got the right eye, the right visual. Then I said, right, I want to apply for A-level. And they said, right, these are the exercises you need to do. And one of them was colour balancing an image. Now, going back into the old history, when you had to expose paper using an enlarger, you had to change the tones and the colour balances, and you had to correct for colour.
Yeah.
And they said, if you can't complete that module, you'll not pass. So that was it. I couldn't take A-level photography. And it's only when you start to unpick the threads of how does this impact your life, your career, everything you might do, that it starts to become quite a serious issue. It does have major impacts that we just completely ignore.
Absolutely. Well, I was, you do tend to think of it as something a bit silly. If you don't know anything about it, the joke about the shirt, that sort of thing. But then do you think we would have been like that perhaps 10 years ago about neurodiversity, such as ADHD?
Yep.
That we're actually learning as society and as an industry to be a lot more compassionate and just be a lot more educated about these differences that we all have.
It's almost like trying to understand why people don't want to be hugged when you first meet them. There are people who, some neurodiverse people will find that a really bad thing to happen. You meet someone, maybe for the first time, and they go, "Oh, I'm a hugger."
Well, I'm not.
And I'm not. Please maintain your distance. So there's a lot of things that are coming out that we need to understand more and be more aware of.
Absolutely.
And more compassionate about.
Yeah, and I didn't realise 12%. That's a huge number of people.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That are going through that. There has been a lot in the events industry of late about neurodiversity. Do you feel this is the next thing that we need to actually embrace?
Well, I think it's something that needs to be considered. I wouldn't want to be the person that put these things on a scale as what's more and less important than others. But I think they all need to be identified, recognised and accommodated, definitely.
Well, you've got to think, if you've got a 2 or 3 day show with 10,000 people, 12% are going to have a very bad time and probably never come back. Yeah, you've got to do something about it.
Yeah, they'll certainly struggle to get around.
Yeah, I think the other thing is you can have this idea that a lot of these conditions are from birth, but they're really not. 80% of disabilities, apparently, are acquired during your lifetime. So, as you go on in age, you get bits that fall off, I guess. But yeah, things happen. And even if you're not, even if you don't have any kind of condition, I mean, unless we all understand that everybody has different perspectives on things, you may be somebody that likes to be hugged, but there'll be days when you really don't want them to come near you.
Absolutely.
So I think, overall, we just need to be more in tune with other people's kind of...
The hugging one is a really interesting. One of my colleagues, there are 2 people in my life that are neurodivergent that have diagnoses. One is a colleague who is not a hugger and finds that incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
My youngest child will hug a lamppost given an opportunity.
I love it.
And they both have adult diagnosis. So they're a late diagnosis, and they both are on the autistic spectrum. So they are both in a similar place. And when you meet them both, they are very kindred spirits. But just that one thing, one of them finds it incredibly hard when somebody hugs them. And Joe will hug you until your eyes pop out. And they are... So it is as individual as the person, and you can't apply it as a blanket. Like,
No.
You know, if you are autistic, you won't be a hugging person. Absolutely not true.
No, absolutely.
Well, there is that thought. I think people may see it as if you're neurodivergent, you have this set of
Yeah.
conditions, peculiarities, whatever you like to call it. Peculiarity is probably not the best word, but this is how you are. But it's not. Being neurodiversity means you interpret the world around you differently, and each person who is neurodivergent will interpret it differently from the next one.
Oh, and if you think of something like ADHD, my daughter had a late diagnosis of ADHD, and one of the problems there is that girls present differently to boys. So her school was very much, no, she doesn't, because she's not the typical bouncing off the walls type, which we all sadly associate with, or we certainly did used to associate that with ADHD. And ADHD has a series of, I think, 12 characteristics. She doesn't meet all of them, but she meets the majority. So she'll overlap with somebody that perhaps presents differently to her. So, yeah, there's a lot more understanding, I think, that we need to do to actually make sure that we are inclusive as a society. And obviously the events industry reflects the society we're in, so we have to.
Well, I think that's right, especially as in the event space we're always talking about attendees and are they engaged and are we doing this? Well, it all starts with a common an understanding of what happens as soon as they walk through the door, or even before they get to the door.
Absolutely, and something that I know Bob and I have discussed at length is we are now looking at an older workforce. People are retiring later. People don't retire till 67, or certainly don't get the state pension till 67. And it's a well-known fact that after 40, your eyesight goes off a cliff. You know, I need glasses to read, but not long distance. So why can't badges be a bit bigger?
Yeah.
Why can't we be catering for perhaps the over 40s that do need larger font?
It's an interesting point, Jill, as well, because when you think about who are the decision makers that you might want to meet in here, and for the majority it will be people at a senior level within organisations that control the budgets, that have the power in an organisation to say yes, and squinting at their navel as they walk past your stand might not be the best introduction.
It doesn't work for me, I have to tell you. It's like, no, what are you doing? But yeah, it's just one of those things, isn't it, where we just need to look at constantly what we're doing the whole time and seeing how we can improve that.
I do like a badge. I do like the security of having a badge in a way that I see so many people at an event and I think, I know you. Do I know you? Quick look at the badge. Oh, yes. You know, that it does really reassure me that I'm not just going to go, I'm either not going to ignore somebody or go bounding up to them and hug them without knowing who they are.
This goes back to your comment about as you get older things failing. This is the memory faculty dying as well.
Absolutely. Just memory and menopause.
Just admit it, Jill. You look at your own badge, you go, that's who I am. Is that what I do?
Every day. I wear this at home.
Yeah. Well, brilliant. Any last thoughts before we finish up?
Just, I suppose, you know, it looks like it's a busy show. It looks like it's a really nice show. You know, it looks very, very well presented, as it were. The exhibitors have put a lot of time and effort in.
Actually, we've got a lovely little viewpoint up on this stage.
We have.
We're right near the entrance. First Sight Media's got a lovely little place right here.
Really
There's a few people listening in, which we're really grateful about.
Has anyone got anything that they're really looking forward to over the next couple of days that they'd like to share? Sessions that they're perhaps giving?
More coffee?
More coffee?
Yeah, more coffee. Paul,
I'm speaking this afternoon, so I shall be pontificating about PR.
So
anybody that's bored this afternoon and wants to, I've got the graveyard shift about 3:45, I think. So, by all means, please come and keep me company.
So,
otherwise, it'll just be my staff listening to the same old rubbish over and over again.
I'll be there. I'll be asking questions.
Oh joy!
we'll be heckling. We'll be throwing washed and cleaned underwear at you.
I think, Bob, for our listeners, you might need to explain. You've mentioned pants a couple of times. Do you want to quickly
Paul,
what's
what's the thing about the pants? We keep talking about the pants. We really should explain it very quickly because we are running out of time.
Yeah.
We've run a PR campaign, our own direct marketing campaign to drive people to the stand to come and talk to us on the premise that PR needn't be pants. So we mailed out 60 pairs of lime green Y fronts to key exhibitors in the show. There's been 100 postcards mailed to people. We've got a set of cookies, which I don't know if anybody's on the camera, but we've had pants cookies made for people who visit our stand, and my
I don't even want to consider that right now.
They've been cleaned and washed. I was up all night making them.
A clean and washed cookie.
Just for the listeners' benefit, we've been handed edible underwear in biscuit form.
In biscuit form.
They're green.
So this is why people have been talking about pants. We just wanted to stand out from the usual stuff in the show. So we just thought, how do we do it? Simple, something very, very simple, very graphic, very visual, and that makes people smile. Working on the principle that if you're trying to please everybody, you will be a mid-shade of ambivalent grey. So either you get it or you don't. If you get it, you'll come and talk to us. We might end up having a great working relationship. If you don't get it, we probably were never going to gel properly in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's genius. Well done.
Thank you.
It's the best bit
Great
of marketing
stuff.
I've seen in a while.
So we'll end it there with Paul's underwear.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This has gone much better than I thought. We're actually sitting in front of each
Outrageous.
other, which is brilliant.
What did you expect?
We can see each other.
Hello.
and we're actually going to finish in time. This hasn't been the usual
4 days.
several hours of
Oh, can you?
talking round the houses.
Yeah, the amount of editing I have to do to bring it down to about 2 hours instead of the 8 that we've done. So anyway, let's finish. So
Brilliant.
thank you again, guys, for being here. Thank you to First Sight Media for... It's a lovely little studio, this, isn't it?
Fantastic.
I love
Very
it.
nice.
And thank you to Event Tech Live for... I don't know how you persuaded them, Paul, but we're here, we've done it.
And it's
Excellent.
signage to prove it as well.
Yeah, we got signage, which is brilliant. Okay, well, thank you everybody for listening, watching, whatever way you've paid attention. And,
Good stuff.
And cut.